Boo.
Ooh. You scared me.
Yes. This is the Stranger Things 2.
Yes, season 2.
Review.
Okay.
We just binged it. Look at my eyes. I've been literally like just watching this like a crack fiend.
Yeah, we watched it.
I was
today?
like
Wednesday?
a Pakistani claiming cashmere. Give me cashmere. Give me cashmere.
We watched 5 episodes on Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
and then we watched 4 episodes today. So
Yes.
we have finished season 2 of Stranger Things.
And there's going to be spoilers.
Yes.
mean-
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
That was like Russia.
Let-
Russia.
No, let
Spoiler
nobody
alert.
say, we didn't know you were going to give spoilers, because this is not just a review of the quality of the acting or anything like that. We're actually going to be discussing in detail what happened in Stranger Things Season 2.
I think Halloween is kind of something that is, we watched it on Halloween. Halloween
Part of
is,
it, yes.
is kind of a day that's special to us, but not typically for the normal reasons that people would associate.
Well, special to you and me?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to clarify? Because you and I don't really celebrate Halloween.
Yeah, but it's the day that we lost our oldest child, and so
Yes.
that it's always kind of a seclusion time.
Yes.
For you and I to kind
Right.
of come together.
Yes.
And eat ice cream. Which was
is
a
true.
tradition that started way back when I didn't bring flowers like I did that very
You
first
did.
time.
You
No, I
brought-
mean today.
Today,
This
yes.
time I
Yesterday you did
right.
not bring flowers, but the day that we lost our child, you did bring flowers and ice cream.
Uh-huh.
So, so last night we had ice cream together again,
Right.
and throughout the years we've always gotten together as a family
Mm-hmm.
and just spent time together. But last night was the first time that we did this just you and me,
Right.
because
Our son
has moved out of the house.
Yes.
So,
Yes. He's got his own crib now.
He does.
But anyways, I just wanted to give this some context to that because I think Stranger Things now will always be kind of in our pattern of what we do because of they put it out on Halloween. We enjoyed season
This year
1.
they did,
Yeah,
yes.
we enjoyed season 1.
Right.
And I think I want to start with this season 2 kind of as it started with the recap. And when we were watching the recap, there was so much that I forgot about because it seems like so long ago since I've seen that.
Well, the first one came out, I think, August of last year, and then they held this one until Halloween weekend of this year.
Which is a good move.
And I had forgotten how much you forgot because
Yes.
I forgot that
was like,
you
what
only
was that?
watched
What's
it
that?
one time.
Yes.
I actually watched it again with our son and his girlfriend because, as you know, she and I were pestering him to watch it.
yes.
He didn't want to watch it.
He thought it was going to look stupid.
And then all of a sudden, he watched
loved
the
it.
first episode. He's like, well, that was pretty good. And then she kept on him. And when I realized I had an ally in her to pester him about this, then I was able to watch many of the season 1 episodes with them. So that was still fresh in my mind when season 2 came out.
Now, watching the kind of recap, it just kind of brought you back into all this stuff, and it was really helpful for me because, again, like you just said, I didn't watch it multiple times. I watched it once through and really enjoyed it.
Right.
But the thought I had watching this is what Stranger Things, what Wayward Pines should have been. Wayward Pines
Yeah.
really. I wonder if there was any kind of ripping off of each other.
I don't
for
think
this.
so. I don't think so. They're based in 2 different time periods. And remember, Wayward Pines, that show that was on Hulu, was based on a book series.
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan. The
Well, he was one of the
destroyed it.
executive
He destroyed it.
producers.
We'll blame him.
So with Stranger Things, one of the best things about it, season 1 or 2, is that it's based in the 80s. And the youngest of the kids, so Will, Mike, Lucas, Dustin, those kids are the exact age that we were in that time period.
Yes.
So it's fun because I can remember what it was like to be 12 and 13 years old in 1983 and 1984. So that's fun. This year, the soundtrack was so good.
Yes.
I mean, it was really awesome how they just wove in dozens of 80s songs. That was cool.
And they also didn't go for the big songs of the year. They played stuff that was kind of more. You had some big hits in there too, but you also had just normal music that was from the period that kind of fit in.
Yeah, absolutely.
The production and everything of it felt like you're watching something from the 80s.
Yeah.
Even when you watch it as it comes on, it kind of flickers like it's VHS.
Yes.
You see some of the graphics and whatnot.
When they're watching stuff on TV, it has that grainy 80s TV feel. All of the hair, the clothing. Yes. It's just so very 80s.
The big difference was we made it look good. They did not.
That was the big difference. We did make it look good. But keep in mind also, you and I were raised in the Chicago area. This is based in Indiana.
Yeah, so it's like hillbilly 80s.
Yeah,
kind of,
exactly. There was a difference.
Redneck,
absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So let's talk about just how this thing starts off.
Okay, first off, I want to know, who is your favorite character in Stranger Things? I have two.
Well, Steve is becoming my favorite character. He transitioned from douchebag on season 1 to he's really like, I guess when you're faced with a alien apocalypse, your priorities start to change, and But
even in season 1, he had transitioned in the later part of the season to being a good guy. And when they were releasing trailers for season 2, they did a lot of misdirection. And so I thought some of the scenes they put together in the trailers made it look like he was just a total dirtbag in the season. And he wasn't.
He's a good guy. You're like, wow, the kid's growing up.
I felt bad for Steve. He's not one of my favorites, though. I like his character, but my favorites are Hopper, the police detective, or the police chief.
Yeah, he's a good character.
And 11. I love 11.
11's a great character.
Yeah.
I like her better with a shaved head.
And now we know that her real name is Jane.
Yes.
Yes.
Jane is getting serious. I wonder if they're going to put that in their 80s song. So we have this kind of season 2 begins, and we see the kids, and we see them. We're introduced to a possible new member of the party, and the party is what they called themselves. The kids called themselves the party, and they have rules. And I found it very interesting because if you remember, Mike broke all the rules to bring 11 into the party.
Right.
But
now he doesn't want to break any rules.
Yes, right. No, he doesn't. And isn't that typical when, back then, women become very divisive among a group of buddies growing up. All of a sudden, you introduce something to a group of boys that is soft and smells good and is pretty, and now people have different ideas of what you do. So we have a new character introduced.
And it's also a girl, so interesting. Both times that there was rule breakage to bring someone in, it was over a girl.
And we stumble onto her character at the arcade because there's a new player who's beating everybody.
On Dig Dug.
Which
Classic
is
80s arcade
Dustin's game. Right. And he can't figure out who is Mad Max. Right?
But I told you I knew Mad Max was going to be a girl.
And we have the cheesy arcade manager.
Yes, who's cheesy in both ways.
Yes, because he's eating Cheetos all the time, and his hands are covered in cheese.
He's got fingers, but he's cheesy. Yes.
And hey, I'll tell you who. Well, he doesn't let on to it. But I'll tell you who it is, but you got to get me a date with
Nancy.
With Nancy, the older sister.
And Mike says, I'm not going to prostitute out my sister. Yes. So good for him.
Yes. That's a great stand, Mike. Yeah. Way to take the moral high ground on that one.
Well, he did.
And so we're introduced to her and her family, and her family is a hot mess.
We're not introduced to the whole family until almost at the very end.
Yes,
so initially we think it's her and her brother. It turns out to be her stepbrother, but... wow,
the stepbrother,
he's a character.
He's peeling tires into the middle
music
in his 84 Trans Am, baby.
And he really thinks he's awesome. I think it was a Camaro.
No, it was a Trans Am.
I don't know. I think it was a Camaro.
Look it up, dude.
I'm pretty sure it was a Chevy.
Yeah, you're wrong.
I'm going to look it up. I just have to go grab my phone.
You may be right now that I think about it.
You don't want me to look.
Because there was that one year that they looked alike.
Yes, and as you remember, there was no Pontiac insignia. I think it was a Chevy.
Okay,
so
whatever.
That would be Camaro.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to this character, and the boys are following her around,
Yes.
trying to see it. They're trying to figure out, is she Mad Max?
Well, her name is Maxine.
Right, and she knows that they're following, and she calls them stalkers. And
when she's introduced to their biology class,
she said, "I go by Max.
I go by Max.
I go by Max."
Yes. So.
And then we see Will. If you remember at the end of season 1, Will coughed something up out of him.
Yep, and we knew
That's
he was
not
infected.
good.
Yep.
And that thing turned into
A virus.
no. I think what he coughed up turned into Darth or what?
Dart.
Dart. I
Yes.
think that's what it turned into because it started growing into this little pollywog looking thing.
Right, but remember the whole thing is sort of a virus that connects every other piece to the other. And so what did they call those things initially? The kids were calling it a demi-gorgon, remember?
Yes.
The creepy alien things. So that's what that little tiny piece turned into eventually. So they can basically be sectioned off and then they grow. They will still grow. And so it's a little tadpole looking thing, but then eventually it grows.
And you've seen in the other episodes where this vine kind of comes and wraps on, and if you cut that thing off and separate it from the host, it still lives, and then
it
becomes,
can grow into something else.
It becomes what
the
they
demi-gorgon.
Dog.
And then they called it a dog, and then they called it a demi-dog.
Yes.
Combining
Dustin
the two
was
words.
very big on
Dustin,
that.
Yes, he liked that.
Yes, he didn't want you to. Right. It's a compound word.
It was a new compound word that he made up.
Yes, he's trying to take credit for everything here.
Yes.
So we see this thing unfold. We see the local farmers are losing their crops, and they're blaming each other of poisoning their crops. And the sheriff's not taking it serious.
Well, because he knows that they're not really poisoning each other's crops. And he also knows, but we don't know this initially, he really knows what's responsible.
But he's just trying to be low-key.
Yes.
Because he apparently has worked out a deal with these people.
Right. He's going to be quiet about the Hawkins lab activities.
Yes.
But they're supposed to be cleaning it up and killing all of these things.
And nobody has any idea that this thing is just massive underneath
it's
the city.
It's gone underground.
Yes, it's gone inward. It's festering.
Tunneling.
We get that allusion to festering
many times.
Infection.
Yes,
sore.
exactly.
And it's just growing and growing.
Basically wanting to take over the entire town.
Yes, and so the sheriff, doing some good police work, starts doing his search radius on this stuff and realizes it's all coming from the lab.
Yes, and he's noticing that it's going out in concentric circles from the lab.
Yes.
So he goes and talks to the doctor. It's a new doctor this year.
And we meet Paul Reiser.
Paul Reiser, another 80s star.
Yes, who was in the Aliens film.
Right.
And instantly we know because of what it's the role from Aliens, but he's grown a conscience.
Yes, he has a conscience in Stranger Things too.
He's not going to be like...
He's still a little shady initially because remember there's that scene where he threatens Nancy and Jonathan, basically makes a threat on their lives, but lets them go. But he does develop a conscience. He does turn into a good guy.
Yes.
When he realizes, whoa, the scope of this is
There's a
crazy.
great scene because Will gets infected more with this virus, and he becomes basically
He's a host.
A host for this entity who is using him to spy everywhere and report back kind of like through telepathy.
Right.
And they start making this realization that he's a host.
Because he doesn't recognize people. He recognizes his mom.
Well, I think that's just off of, like, the invader's intellect to realize that's mom.
That's exactly my point.
Because you can see him like, mother. He never called her mother.
Well, no, but when he woke up, immediately he called for her.
Yes.
And so they were hopeful, oh, okay, he's better, but then he doesn't recognize Bob.
Yes.
And all these other people. He doesn't recognize the police chief.
Yes, right,
Yeah,
right. And then they do that little experiment where they bring a piece of this tentacle
that they had
off,
cut
and
off.
they start to set it on fire, and he starts just freaking.
Because that's one of the things with these creepy demi-gorgon things is that they don't like water and they don't like heat.
Right.
And so they recognize, oh, he he is a host for this thing, because even though he looks normal on the outside, he's responding to the same outward stimuli that the demigorgons do.
And so they're having they kind of break and they have this meeting with the scientists.
Right.
And one of the scientists says to Paul Reiser's character, "Well, we're going to have to kill a boy."
Right.
To
and
kill this
he's
thing.
livid.
And he's just like, "What?
Right.
I dare you to say that
Right.
again to me.
Right.
I dare you to say that again
So
to me."
you can see, okay,
It's different.
he's
It's
getting a
different.
conscience. He's not the same swarmy, creepy, corrupt guy that he was in Aliens.
So we see this whole infestation. We see
Yes.
Will being co-opted.
Yes.
We see new relationships kind of form with
Right.
Maxine, and we see the displacement of Steve as alpha male in the
Yes.
school by Mad Max's
But,
brother,
yes.
who's such an
Billy,
a-hole.
yes.
Is it Billy?
Billy.
His name's Billy.
Yep.
We see all that. We see
He had like the worst mullet, did he not?
did.
That was
He did.
so awful.
we see introduction of Bob.
I loved Bob.
And Bob was a great character because in
Yes.
1984 he was in Goonies.
Sean Astin
Kind of a
played Bob.
similar. Now, is Sean Astin the dude you dated that turned out to be gay?
No, I didn't actually date Anthony Rapp. I went on a double date with Anthony Rapp and his girlfriend at the time.
Oh, okay. So you
So
did
no,
not
not
date it.
Sean Astin. No.
But okay, so it wasn't him. And then we've seen him in Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
He was the Hobbit. He's one of the
Sam.
Hobbitess. Yeah, the Hobbitess with the big feet.
Yes.
And he was then in Mom's Night Out, kind
Yes,
of a Christian
which I
film,
loved.
right?
Yes.
Which was a fun little film.
Yes.
Good
He's a
actor.
good actor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a good actor. He was the high school dork who
Yes.
finally got the hot chick in high school after high school.
Who now turns out to be, she's kind of a mess.
Yeah,
Winona
she's a
Ryder's
mess. She's a
character is a
mess.
mess, but he loves her.
Yes.
And so they're a couple, and they're very cute together, and they complement one another well. And he loves her
you
kids.
can tell that at first she doesn't love him. That this is more like you're stable and you get a good job and
Well, I don't. They were doing a whole lot of making out, though.
Yeah, that's true, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think what happened was she got a little nervous because he didn't know all of Will's history.
Oh, you think that's what it is? Because the
Yes.
story is that he got lost in the woods,
Right.
And then he was found.
Because what we
and-
found out in season 2 is that after the whole Hawkins lab was shut down in season 1, all of the people who knew what happened were made to sign basically non-disclosure agreements, and they had to sign confidentiality agreements, and they could not talk about
Right.
what happened in the town. So Bob has no idea what really happened to Will. He has no idea what the police chief and all of the families have gone through. He doesn't even know 11 because she's in hiding at the
Right.
police chief's cabin.
Right,
He's been
which we
holding
find
her
out-
for almost a year.
And it's not like he's been holding her captive. He's
No, he's
kind of
protecting
he's
her.
kind of like become this fatherly figure
Yes.
to teach her some English, to teach
Yes.
her how to make food, and so
Right.
she's in seclusion. But the whole time she wants to be with Mike.
Yes, because
and
she
and
misses
she's
Mike.
visiting Mike every night. Mike is on the walkie-talkie,
Right.
calling to her.
And
but
she
does-
goes
she's
into
not allowed-
her memory where she can see him and hear him, but she can't talk to him. And so he misses her and she misses him, and eventually she does break the rules and leaves the cabin and goes and finds him at the school, and she sees him with Max and thinks that he likes Max.
Yes.
But he doesn't.
Right.
And so she uses her mind tricks to kind of hurt Max a little bit, and then he realizes, I think she's out there. I think she might still be alive.
And that sets her on a course of discovery because while
Yes.
she's in the cabin, she finds out that her mom's still alive.
Yes, and goes to find her mom.
And Mom looks like a basket case, just uttering 3 things. And when she's uttering
Yes.
those things, I told you that's going to mean something. And we
Yes.
do it because we
Yes.
find out 11
Yes.
does her mind thing where she goes into the mind
And talks to
to
her
Mom
Well,
and sees what happened. Well,
She doesn't
confused-
talk to
right,
mom because Mom's brain has been completely warped
Yes.
from electroshock therapy.
Yes. And she finds out that she has a sister.
Right.
Who is
So-
Indian. She has a
Who's
Indian sister.
And her name was 8. That was her number.
Mm-hmm.
And so they all kind of go by their numbers. And so she realizes this girl is older than her. We were introduced to 8 at the very beginning of season 2. And she was in a police chase. And I told you, one of these people in the van is going to have powers. and then they show what her powers are, and basically she can make people see things that aren't there.
Yeah, or not see things that are there. But yeah,
right.
which it's different than 11's ability.
And she's older. She's probably about 7 years older, and so she's had time to really work with this and craft it. And so eventually 11 finds her.
Yes. And we see them kind of on a, 8's more about a criminal.
Right.
I got this group of these misfits. Let's go find these people and kill them.
Yes.
But we'll also use my abilities to steal and make money and whatnot.
Right.
And so 11's they're trying to bring her, infiltrate her into this kind of,
to use her abilities to be able to find people, because that's one of her abilities. She can find people.
Yes.
Whereas 8 cannot. And so they use 11 to do that. But 11 realizes what they're doing is not right. She has mercy on somebody who had previously tortured her mother because she realizes he has kids of his own.
And she wouldn't let the 8 kill him.
Yes, she took her gun and threw it out the window.
That caused issues. It caused a split.
Yes.
And she realizes, 11 realizes then, I got real family, like Mike and them are in trouble, and I need to go help them.
And she realizes they're in trouble because, if you remember in season 1, she needed to be near a TV or a radio or something to be able to connect with kind of
not anymore
the energy.
As
now she doesn't.
She can just close her eyes and just do it.
And so she's sleeping one night. And she goes and she sees Hopper, the police chief, and she sees Mike, and she knows they're at the lab and they need help. And so 8 tells her, they can't save you. And she said, no, but I can save them.
Right.
And so she goes back.
Because what is happening to Hawkins while she's away...
Hopper.
Hawkins, the town.
Yes.
All hell's breaking loose. This thing's getting ready just to swallow up the town. It's getting out. It's just a matter of time. You're on a ticking time bomb. We keep getting the shadow monster.
Yes.
That's coming up. And we see some images of him, and it was very alien-like when you saw the head kind of peek at, and it's a gigantic, massive thing here.
Yes.
And I love what they did with it. You didn't get to see it. You just saw parts of it.
Right.
You just saw a little bit of it. I'm not going to show you the monster. I'm just going to show you its shadow. I'm going to show you it moving. I'm going to show you... And I found that... I think that's the best kind of thrill. I mean, there were some jump scares in this. A couple
Which
that caught me completely like,
I
started screaming like Dustin.
I was prepared. I'm always prepared in situations like that because I know they're coming. That's part of what they want to do. And so I'm always in the back of my mind remembering, okay, there's going to be a jump scare. So whereas you definitely get sucked in and you lose sight of the fact that that's coming. And so, yes, you literally did jump and scream a couple of times.
And it was outstanding. It was a good jump scare. And so we have this kind of cataclysmic event unfolding in Hawkins, and 11 is on her way back to Indiana.
Yes.
She's back on her way to Indiana, and being an Indiana boy was good to see. I was born in Indiana. It was good to see that when everything goes down and the world's about to end, it's all based in Indiana.
Well, I did like that 8, the girl that she found, was living in Chicago, so it was neat to see Chicago as well. And initially she was so kind of in awe because this looks so different than Indiana, until one of the rude, Chicagoans bumps into her and tells her, "Watch where you're going, kid." And then she calls him a mouth breather because that was a term she learned from her friends in season 1.
Yes. And so 11 shows up and begins to save the day. And we're leaving some things out.
Yes.
I don't want to give everything away on it.
Well, there's like 9.5, 10 hours of stuff.
But she shows up and she saves the day in a very heroic fashion.
Yes.
And
Mike is very happy to see her, but very angry that he finds out that the chief has been hiding her for a year.
Yes, and
that 11 was aware every night, and she counted the days. It's like 352 days that Mike had talked to her every night, and she heard him, and so they were happy to see each other, but angry at the cops.
So what we see is 11 kind of close this gate between these two realities.
Yes.
And because she opened it. If you remember in season 1, she opened it.
And it was accidental. Yes, she didn't mean to open this gateway between the two dimensions, but that's how these creepy monsters got to Hawkins in the first place, was because she made a breach in the walls at that lab. And so this season, the new doctors at the lab are trying to kill all of this stuff because they don't know how to close the breach. Well, 11's the only one who can close it.
Yeah, and so she closes it
in rather dramatic fashion.
Yes, and then we have the kind of the payoff is the snowball.
The dance at the end.
Yes, they called it the snowball. We would have called it a Christmas dance.
Yes.
So
that was one of the things that they got wrong. They did a really good job of holding
all the old rappers, the candy, the video games.
Yes, all of the terminology, the hair, the makeup, the outfits, the cars. They did a great job with so many of the 80s things. But one thing that they did not do well was they stuck with the PC, the political correct. We don't want to call things Christmas because that might offend people, so they called the dance the Snowball Dance. Well, in 1984, schools were still calling it Christmas dances.
Yeah, right.
So I was disappointed that they got that part wrong.
And you see everybody gets their girl.
Yes, everybody gets their girl.
Gets their girl.
Well,
kind of.
Steve doesn't get his girl because she
cheated on him.
She didn't cheat on him. They were broken up.
Yeah, okay.
He broke up with her, remember,
Yes.
because of what she said at the party.
Yes.
So he broke up with her, and she then finally gives in to her feelings for Jonathan. And so Steve realizes he's lost the girl, but he bows out gracefully. And then it looks like Hopper may get the girl, but only
Dustin did not get the girl.
No.
A girl did him a solid who was older and better looking.
Nancy
to
danced with him
in front of
to
all
help
of his
him feel good in front of all of the school.
And they were all the girls were all of a sudden like,
yes.
How did we miss this?
But also Hopper loves Joyce, Will's mom.
Yeah.
But Joyce was in love with Bob, and Bob did not make it.
Bit the big one. In a very dramatic, self-sacrificing way.
I couldn't even watch. It was so gross.
I don't know. Well, I will just stop there. I don't want to give that away.
Yeah,
overall,
so gross.
Overall, A+++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++
a couple of critiques that I have. First off, you know how I feel about killing off main characters. I think main characters should always live.
Sometimes
so that
it happens.
I know. Sometimes it happens. But I don't like it. Unless the main character is like a total scumbag. Bob was not. I loved Bob so that bothered me. I didn't like how they showed the cat being eaten. That was so gross. I didn't like how they didn't call the dance a Christmas dance, because that's what it would have been called in 1984.
So you're being ticky-tack.
No.
This is ticky-tack.
No, these are my critiques.
They're ticky-tack.
They're not ticky-tack. And if you quibble with this next one, I'm going to slap you. You know I don't like bad language. And I particularly don't like
kids
bad language
like
when they let
kids
swear.
Yes,
and these kids are swearing all the time.
Yeah.
So that is my major critique. Other than that, the acting was superb. The soundtrack was amazing. They got almost everything 80s related spot on. The plot was great. The character development. So yes, I can't give this enough pluses. A++++. Yes.
Well, finally, because you once disagreed with that grading system, and here we are. Very good.
Theoretically, you can't go higher than an A+. I get that. So,
thank you so much for watching. This is Stranger Things Review 2. Go to my website, darkskyradio.com. Again, that's Dark Sky website, darkskyradio.com, the greatest internet radio station in the world
and
ever.
Please subscribe to our channel.
Subscribe to the channel. I get all kinds of good stuff. We got new sponsors. They're giving away stuff. You can go check that on the sponsor tab. I will catch you guys in the Upside Down.
Ooh.